A very good evening to you and welcome to Rwanda Television News. My name is Sam Kalisa.
And I'm Fiona Mbabazi.
Kicking it off, Mozambique Army Commander has noted that the achievements that have been achieved in the fighting terrorism in the country's Cabo Delgado province proved that Rwanda and Mozambique forces have great soldiers.
Major roads are now being cleared of obstacles that had been used by the rebels to stage ambushes in the province, and the fact that they have now been pushed out of their headquarters has been praised by Mozambique's top military officials.
We started from Afungi, working together. The same we did from Rwanda. And now we can say Rwanda has brave soldiers, and the same way Mozambique have brave soldiers, because they've been fighting together. And our actions talk more than words. As you can see, today we are free. We have Musimba the Braya freed from terrorists. But this is the first stage. The next stage is to move forward, to go to their big stronghold, to defeat them, so that Cabo Delgado, or this part of Cabo Delgado, can be free from terrorists. So what I can say is that we are doing a good job together. Rwandan and the Mozambican troops always has good relationship, even in this higher level. We have been working together. That's why we're here to show Mozambique and Rwanda that if we are united, we can do better job.
The commander of the Rwandan security forces currently operating in Mozambique has noted that the progress being made is a result of cooperation and their ability to be able to adapt to challenges as they arise.
I would say that the tasks depend on who can perform them better than the other. So depending on the mission ahead or task ahead, the complexity of it, we decide who will do it better and who will support in what way, depending on the analysis the leadership would have made at our level. It's a process, it's a gradual thing. So fighting the initial part, destroying those strongholds is the initial part. But the stabilization phase is also another phase that we believe we will play a part as we progress towards the whole peaceful area of Cabo Delgado. 5 of the 16 districts of Cabo Delgado had been affected by terrorism, and 90% of them have now been cleared of the terrorists.
Still in Mozambique, people who fled terrorism in Cabo Delgado province of Mozambique say they were relieved to see Rwandan security forces arrive in their troubled province.
This is the camp of Koitunda, now home to more than 10,000 internally displaced people in the Cabo Delgado province of Mozambique. The commander of the Koitunda police station gave us a guided tour of the camp and explained to its residents who we are and why we were there.
After
the security forces, these are journalists who have come here to our country from Rwanda. They have come following those forces that came to help us fight the terrorists, and they are here to report on how we are living. Those in the camp told heartbreaking stories about their ordeals.
The terrorists killed my husband, his sister, and her husband, as well as my sister. Later, they killed another of my siblings. We fled to Panja and remained there as the gunfights continued.
bunduki kupiga piga.
Wanavyovifanya wale magaidi vibaya sana.
Those terrorists are doing terrible things, grabbing people and slaughtering them like goats. They dump the bodies out in the open, sometimes in pieces. Because of such horrendous acts, people are seriously traumatized.
We have been terribly traumatized. They took my 2 sisters and 2 children, and I have not seen them since. They took them when the terrorists entered Palma, and none has been returned to us yet.
Wakawashikashika wale wakaenda nao mpaka sasa hivi hawajarudishiwa.
Gaidi wametuvamia katika kijiji chetu.
The terrorists attacked us in our own country when people had been living in harmony. They started killing black and white people alike. We have lost so much infrastructure and people as well. The efforts of the Rwandan security forces to restore peace and order to the province have been heavily applauded by the people of Cabo Delgado.
Lakini tangia mmekuja nyinyi mnaonyesha mafunzo yenu kwamba ni yako sahihi.
Ever since you came here, you have shown that you are adequately trained to deal with terrorism, and we commend all you are doing as Rwanda's security forces. We also thank your president, His Excellency Paul Kagame, because of the way he came to our rescue, sending his forces. It shows that there is unity in Africa, with one country helping another, and for that we thank him very much.
Moja kwenda nyingine. Kwa vile tunatoa shukrani zetu sana za dhati.
Kazi sisi baada ya kusikia wamekuja majeshi wa Rwanda. Baada kuja hao kusikia wamekuja majeshi wa Rwanda.
After we heard that Rwandan forces were on the way, before they had even arrived, we started celebrating. We sleep soundly now, while they go out into the bush, and now we are no longer awakened by the sound of gunfire, and we no longer hear of the terrorists.
Bunduki zile zipigwi, magaidi wale atuwasikii, wameingia hapa malikazi hatujasikia.
Yani mimi kwa tendo la kufika
To me, the arrival of Rwandan security forces is something to be very grateful for, because we now sleep at night and are no longer scared. We are now at ease since they arrived and started working with Mozambique's armed defense forces. We are very grateful that they came. I thank the Rwandan security forces for the sacrifices they have made, leaving their own country to come here and help us in our hour of need. They certainly have my respect, having supported us in every way, fighting alongside our own soldiers in the bush and allowing us to go about our daily activities and try and make a living. The province is rich in natural resources like gas and full of potential to develop rapidly once given the chance to do so, which is why peace is so important to the people of Cabo Delgado. They have noted that Rwanda's actions to aid Mozambique in its hour of need is an indication that true African unity is possible.
A cross-section of residents say they are glad that the price of the rapid COVID-19 test has been reduced from 10,000 Rwandan francs to 5,000 because it will enable them to test often and know where they stand as Rwanda continues to fight against the spread of COVID-19. Gloria Mutesi has the details.
The change in price was effective today, the 9th of August. The price for the COVID-19 rapid test was initially 10,000 Rwanda francs since December 2020 and has now been reduced to 5,000 Rwanda francs. A cross-section of residents say the reduction in this price is certainly a step in the right direction in fighting against the spread of the pandemic. I work in a hotel and it's mandatory for us to do a test every 2 weeks. Initially, the charge was high for us, and now that it's been reduced. Knowing my COVID-19 status is a good thing because we are seeing people dying and others critically ill because they took long to know that they had the virus. I'm glad the price has reduced. It will certainly help us know where we stand and enable us and so many people go for testing so that those who are infected are isolated and seek the necessary treatments. COVID is still around. I have my family members that have contracted the virus. The Rwanda Biomedical Center says the rapid COVID-19 test is the most commonly used in Rwanda. Dr. Gatare Swaib explains the effectiveness of this method.
With the rapid diagnostic test, the World Health Organization recommends that these should be validated in such a way that they have got a sensitivity of at least 82% and a specificity of at least 97%. And we have validated all the rapid diagnostic test kits that we use in the country. And today I'm happy to announce that all the RDTs that we use comply to the WHO recommendation. And we actually have some that have got a sensitivity of up to 96% and a specificity of 97%.
Currently in Rwanda, 70% of COVID-19 tests taken per day are taken using the rapid test method, while the PCR tests account for 30%. Statistics from the Ministry of Health show that more than 2 million COVID-19 tests have been conducted in Rwanda currently.
Now on Monday, August the 9th, 2021, the General Assembly of the Chamber of Deputies began an extraordinary session. At the beginning of the session, the Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, Honorable Donatille Mkabalisa, thanked the members of Parliament for attending and noted that the agenda for the special session was to approve urgent bills that cannot wait for the start of the regular term. Now, during this extraordinary session, the Chamber of Deputies planned and review and also approve about 10 bills related to the implementation of the Kigali International Financial Center and the development of trade and investment and tourism developmental bills. The Chamber of the Deputies will also consider basis for drafting and approving bills and loans agreements, including $5 million grant agreement on a project to expand the sustainable and self-sufficient agriculture and a loan agreement of up to 83 million euros that has been earmarked for a project to help the private sector get funding to rebuild and cope with the impacts of COVID-19. The deputies on Monday approved a bill to regulate microfinance institutions. Article 95 of the Organic Law on the functioning of the Chamber of Deputies stipulates that an extraordinary session shall only consider what was on the agenda of the invitation and that it shall not last more than 15 days. Sam?
Moving ahead, the Rwanda Stock Exchange has started trading the first ever corporate bond issued by private energy company Energy Cotel PLC, an independent power producer and engineering consulting firm. The development has been hailed as providing many great opportunities for all parties involved.
This listing by Energy Cotel, 6.5 billion Rwandan francs, is a very, very important gesture for the entire business community. This is an SME, a small and medium-sized enterprise company, which is coming to the market for the first time, raising money to invest in the energy sector. And this is something very, very important. Number one, apart from the raising of the money, it is also a clear signal that any company, whether big or small, can raise money on the capital market. And this is what we are encouraging many other companies, especially those which are trying to raise money rather than going to the banking system, getting short-term resources. This is the only place you can get long-term resources. You can participate on the Rwanda Stock Exchange either by shares or by issuing a bond, a corporate bond, as the Energy Cotel has also done. This is very important for the country, and we encourage many of the companies to do the same. As mentioned, this capital market is the only way that we can raise long-term resources, not only for the government, but also for the entire country. And this is needed to complement what the financial institutions are supplying to our market. And that's the only way we can be able to grow our economy in a faster rate than before. The complementarity of the financial market and the financial sector is very, very important, and that's why we encourage as many companies looking for finances for agriculture, for infrastructure, for telecommunication, for the real estate and for other sectors to be able really to come to the market and raise money for their own development.
Moving ahead now, residents and workers in Nyamyumba sector of Rubavu district are thankful to the government for the infrastructure that has been built in the sector to help them to develop. Ghislaine Muganeza has the report.
It is 6 kilometers from Gisenyi town to Nyamnyumba sector at a place known as Brasserie. The construction of Marine Brasserie Busoro Road, which is more than 14 kilometers long, made Nyamnyumba sector to start progressing. Residents in this sector appreciate the fact that they currently have a road. Motorbikes are working, buses are also working, and all cars can pass in the road without any problem. And it's easy to go to town. It only takes 10 minutes. Currently, the land value is high. In last years, you would get a land to cultivate on at 1.5 million, but now you can never get a land worthy less than 15 to 20 million francs. Residents have started rebuilding houses to add more value to this sector. First thing is that the road changed the history in housing, even in living a life you want. When you have money, you eat and put on clothes you want. They asked us to build modern houses, even though I have no husband, but I built the house the way they asked me to. The construction of Marine Brasserie Busoro Road is close to an end. It's not only progressing in transportation, but also in creating new jobs that will elevate the economy in Rwanda. Except Bralirwa located in Nyamnyumba sector, there is also Shema Power, like Kivu Limited, that produces electricity from methane gas. It is expected that it will supply 15 megawatts in September, as well as providing jobs for many residents in Nyamnyumba. More of tourist activities are held in Nyamnyumba sector, and 7 hotels were built in this sector according to the investors. It really changed and added value to us because more people are coming for our services. Some of them come from Gisenyi town to here. Something has really improved and people are happy. Nyamnyumba sector has got 50 partners whose activities aim at helping residents to move out of poverty. However, the wish is to have more partners and investors to have more progress.
Umurenge wa Nyamnyumba ukeneye icyo nakwita ishoramari.
Nyamnyumba needs more investment that I can call a great one that generates production from the beauty of the lake as well as improving the capability of the district. This is a place where you can find a plot of land for hotel building. We are preparing places where apartments can be built and storage buildings that will receive many people who will be watching Lake Kivu even when they are in the 5th floor of the building. This will not be achieved by using the district budget and not from the sponsors only, but more support will come from the partners.
Ntabwo tuzakoresha ingengo y'imari y'abaterankunga ahubwo ahanini n'abafatanyabikorwa.
More value is needed to be added in fishing, in addition to the annual production of more than 200 tons of coffee, beans grown on 1,360 hectares, maize grown on 276 hectares. They also cultivate vegetables and sugarcane. 42,000 residents live in Nyamnyumba sector. 76.7% have electricity, and more than 1,000 households use clean water, plus having 62 public taps. Ghislaine Mugwaneza, RTV News.
Well, thank you, Ghislaine. Now, the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority, RURA, has announced that within a month period, it will have rectified all obstacles faced by the motorists regarding the use of taxi meters in transporting passengers, which still, of course, hinders the use of technology in this particular sector.
It was in 2019 that Yego Innovation Limited launched taximeters to be used by motorcyclists as means of pricing passengers. The taximeters were not used for a long period of time due to disagreements between motorcyclists and passengers. Some motor riders say there should be a campaign to encourage passengers to use taximeters. They will solve continuous quarrels between passengers and motorcyclists because they sometimes couldn't agree on prices. The other benefit is that taximeters use technology, and when your motorcycle has been stolen, it can easily be caught. Citizens should be sensitized so that they won't give motorcyclists a hard time. These taximeters came to reduce quarrels between motorcyclists and passengers because prices are fixed. Therefore, a passenger can't refuse to go with you. Using taximeters will help all of us work well. Daniel Ngarambe, who heads the Federation of Motorcycle Cooperatives in Rwanda, says these taximeters will enable motorcycle transportation to be done professionally. Motorcyclists are happy that RURA will now be fixing prices using taximeters. A motorcyclist who charged 300 Rwandan francs in 2000 still charges the same amount. The price of fuel changes, but it doesn't normally increase with the prices. The other benefit is technology. Looking at car transportation, technology evolved with time. It was motorcyclists that were left behind. The Director General of RURA, Dr. Nsabimana Ernest, said that there are some improvements to be made in these taximeters so that they could be used within a month period. We discussed about it, and motorcyclists had their role. Regarding prices, you've seen that when the evening clocks, motorcyclists charge almost double of the normal price. We considered both sides, the motorcyclist and the passenger. We are finalizing the project so that we know taximeters that were lost and others that are no longer functional. We set a month period deadline to solve all those issues. In this project of distributing taximeters, it is expected that 15,000 taximeters will be distributed by the end of September this year. This will go hand in hand with fixing prices, as some passengers say that previous prices were unfair. In the face of domestic violence towards domestic workers, the Rwanda Workers' Trade Union Confederation calls on employers to treat their employees fairly, because as legal action can be taken when necessary. Gabi Muvunyi has the report.
Domestic work is considered as a form of informal employment in the country. A large number of young people fall into this category. Ndaishimye Anita is a domestic worker, and she shares with us her unfortunate experience. I was supposed to be paid 10,000 francs for the work I did. I worked for 3 months without receiving any pay. That meant it accumulated to 30,000 francs. On top of that, there was another 15,000 they owed me, making it a total of 45,000 francs. I decided to quit and leave. I remember this was at the beginning of 2018. In addition to domestic workers not being paid, a number of them face sexual harassment at various households they work in. At the time, I looked for somewhere else to work. There was a time the man of the household told me that if I don't sleep with him, he would kill me. So I chose to seek advice from my fellow friend, and she told me to leave the house, because if the wife finds out, I will get into trouble. So I decided to just leave, and yet I had worked for 3 months without pay. Though not all domestic workers are physically abused or sexually harassed, some are emotionally abused. He spoke to me in such a harsh tone, saying that I don't want to see you drinking porridge or eating any bread, and yet I feed the children, wash them, cook for the family. Those words really scarred me. As the days go by, people work on solutions on the problems domestic workers face on a daily basis. These include companies like United Friend at Work Business Group Company. Belinda Uwamahoro, the owner of said company, explains to us how things would work if done in the right process. There is an agreement between the company and the employer to avoid any problems that may arise between the employers and the employee. On the part of the employer, we manage situations where if there is any theft or any misconduct, or on the other hand, if the employee is abused or harassed in any manner. These contracts help us work with the government. The General Secretary of the Rwanda Workers' Trade Union Confederation says that although some actions have been taken, including provisions of the protection of unregistered workers in the Labour Law of 2018, as well as other advocacy activities, there are other important issues to be addressed, including changing the mindsets of the employers.
The first thing is that even these workers are members of the association. They should go to unions to advocate for them between government and the organizations. and I would urge Rwandan employers in general to value those who work for them and treat them as valuable people.
Labour protection agencies also find that resolving the problems of unskilled workers is that the government should establish basic salaries, and added that the authorities should ensure that provisions of the Labour Law of 2018 include the right to leave, health and safety at the workplace are properly implemented. Gabi Muvunyi, reporting for RTV News.
To environmental matters now, members of an environmental cooperative of Oinyingi sector, Nyamagabe district, say that after being educated on the importance of reforestation, implementations as well as investments have increased. And as Ongali Jed reports, it has boosted their development.
In different parts of Nyamagabe district, the forests are predominantly mountainous. Residents say their development is based on the local landscape. In earlier years, there was not enough production coming out of the trees, yet it was found to be worth at least 100,000 Rwanda francs. I grew up seeing people cut down trees before they were mature. Back then, we used to talk about hills because we didn't know how to measure the area. And it is true that they use them usefully, but in reality, on a whole hill, we pulled 5 or 10 bags of them. When trees are cut down before they are mature, there's a small amount of charcoal, and it takes time for the trees to grow back. After a reforestation program was set in place, the villagers quickly heard of it and immediately formed a cooperative to care for the environment. In addition to their own participation, they are also encouraging fellow residents to harvest the forest only when it is ready. This, in turn, has led to higher rates of reforestation and achieving the implementation set. The benefit is in the charcoal, which is now of good quality, to the point of making some that would allow a tree nursery to be established elsewhere. Cutting down mature trees has positively changed my life. I built a house, bought a motorbike, and a piece of land. The mayor of Nyamagabe district called on the people to harvest mature forest, but also to take measures to take care of them, such as erosion control and better management, as they will continue to grow. This is very important, and it would be appropriate to put it to good use. Use wood well so that it is a durable material, and the charcoal is of good quality. But we urge everyone to take care of planted trees and cut them down at maturity. According to officials, a tree in a forest should not be cut down before they are at least 5 to 7 years old. In Nyamagabe district, forests currently account for 50% of the total area. Umngari Jade, RTV News.
And of course, on behalf of the entire news and technical team that made it happen, thank you very much for being with us. My name is Sam Kalisa.
And I'm Fiona Mbabazi, and of course, remember that COVID-19 is still here with us. We have a role to play, Sam.
Wear your face mask correctly, and of course, wash your hands regularly with clean water and soap.
Sanitize, and together, let's continue to flatten the curve. Have yourselves a blessed and fruitful week ahead, and good night.